how he wants to be more in tune with today's players, and you can have a personal relationship and a professional relationship, and those two can interact and intersect and whatever. He's not the guy. I'll take Rob Thompson over him, any day. Any day that ends any day of the week that ends in Y, I'm taking Rob Thompson.
Does Tim Leonard have a pick?
Yeah, Rob Thompson. I think they should make him the manager. Guy's been a loyal career guy. He's a great guy as far as the players go. Everybody likes Rob Thompson, and he's not going to be one of these intense guys like Girardi is, where it's where he's going to make the players tense. Thompson he's a mellow guy, he's a chill guy. He's the guy I want. Now, if they decide to hire somebody else, okay. But I know Rob Thompson. I covered him for a year when he was at Double-A with Albany Colony. He was the third base coach for that team. All right, that was when Posada went through and Pettit went through and Jeter went through for like 40 games. Bernie was already been promoted by then, but you
covered Jeter?
Yeah, for like 40 games in Double-A, and not to mention when he was in the Bronx. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I knew in the Bronx. I didn't know up in Albany.
No, Jeter was a jerk back then too. Hate to say it.
Jerk.
He was a jerk.
He's God.
He was a jerk though.
Back
then, he wouldn't do interviews after the game. He would just say, "Oh, I got to go lift," and because the Albany Colony Yankees facility was it was deplorable, and it was even worse than a Double-A facility should be. The weightlifting room was all the way behind the left center field fence. All right, the home dugout was where a home dugout should be, right by the first base line. But if players wanted to lift, they had to go out the clubhouse, out the dugout, go all the way 380 feet away through the left center field fence, and then they had this crappy little weight room out there. And it was crap. I'm talking like what we had in the garage, like a weight bench with free weights, and this was not the place to develop players. Somehow it worked out, but Jeter was only there like 38 games. So
Jeter
that
was also a rail too.
Well, but that was the problem. It's like, I got to go lift. Well, hey, Derek, how about taking 5 minutes before you go lift? I got to lift.
He knew then that he was not whether he's going to be a great player or not. That's one thing, but he knew he wasn't going to talk to the media a lot too.
Well, I mean, he talked to the media in the Bronx. He didn't say anything when he talked to the media, but at least he would say. At least he would actually have the conversation and be. That's how you get to be the face of the franchise. Is that you represent the franchise in conversations with the media, and that's how it happens.
But as a writer, that if you didn't come back with a Derek Jeter quote, your editor would say, "Why didn't you have a Derek Jeter quote?"
And when I told him that, and if that happened, that might have happened once, I would just say, Derek Jeter didn't say anything worth putting in the paper.
Okay,
that's my job. That's my job, is to evaluate the quotes, to say, all right, who said something worthy of being in the paper and explaining what happened in this game. And if Jeter didn't say something that day, then he wasn't getting in my story.
Now, getting back to the GM meetings,
yes.
You think there's going to be some sort of trade?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt, 100%. And
we'll
remember,
talk about the Yankees. Right?
Remember, you heard it here first. Yes, the Yankees will make a trade this week, and I'm guaranteeing this. And the reason is because they have this embarrassment of riches. They have so many minor league prospects, and they have such a good young roster. The Yankees are going to have too many players for their 40-man roster.
Okay. And
what that does is it means that you can only protect so many players, obviously 40 being that number. There is something called the Rule 5 draft. And any players who are not on your 40-man roster can be taken for free, basically, on the Rule 5 draft. Or I think it's $50,000 is the fee. So the Yankees will be making a trade this week, without a doubt, because and probably a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1, because they need to get. First of all, there's a couple holes that they want to fill, but secondly, they need to get rid of some guys and put those guys out there and put those guys in a trade to get something of quality back. But they are going to need to whittle down their numbers as far as the 40-man roster goes.
Right.
And that's why there's going to be a trade. They probably have 43, 44, 45 guys who could be on that 40-man roster. So the way to get around that is make a deal. I don't know who they're going to get. Obviously there's some names out there and there's some guys out there. I know that They probably want to get rid of Starlin Castro just for the contract. I know they would love to get rid of Jacoby Ellsbury for his contract. I don't know that that's going to happen without the Yankees eating significant amounts of money. I think they would love to be able to get rid of Chase Headley if somebody wanted him for a year. The Mets, maybe. The Mets for 1 year on Chase Headley, play third base.
Maybe.
They probably wouldn't mind getting rid of Brett Gardner because he's got, I believe, 1 year left on his deal, and Clint Frazier certainly could move into left field and play left field. The Yankees' main focus for this offseason is to get below the luxury tax because they want to be able to start over with the tax. Every year you're above the tax, your tax for being over the cap goes up. And the Yankees have never been under the cap. So the problem with that is that this upcoming offseason is going to be bountiful, to say the least, as far as free agents go. Bryce Harper is going to be a free agent. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now. Bryce Harper is going to be a free agent. Manny Machado is going to be a free agent. Clayton Kershaw is going to be a free agent. Dallas Keuchel. All of these guys are on the final years of their deal. So if the Yankees want to go after some of those guys or any of those guys, they need to be under the luxury tax. Otherwise, they're going to get killed. And what the Yankees have done in previous years with free agents, and I think this is a great idea, is instead of getting one guy every year and losing your first-round draft pick, if you get, say, 3 free agents in 1 year, well, fine, now you lose your first-rounder, but then you lose your second and your third. So you're only hurting your draft for 1 year as opposed to hurting your draft every year if you decide to get players every year.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That's why there is going to be a trade this week. Count on it.
Well, like I said, CC still hasn't talked to the Yankees whether he
No,
does.
he has.
Oh, it says here he has.
Their rep, the Yankee, CC's rep talked to the Yankees. Basically the only thing that's been said, and this was already known, was that CC wants to stick around.
Yes, he does.
But what are the negotiations going to be? What does CC want? How many years? And does that fit in with what the Yankees want to give him? And that's if CC's willing to take a 1 year deal, I'm sure the Yankees would love to give him a 1 year deal. If CC's looking at 2 years or 3 years, I think that would cause the Yankees to maybe take a second look at things. So, if CC is willing to go on a 1 year deal and keep going on a 1 year deal, like Hiroki Kuroda, he did that for 3 years with the Yankees. 1 year deal, one year, $12 million, 1 year, 13, whatever I forget what the numbers were. I think the last one was like for 1 year, $15 million. And the Yankees wanted to do multi-year deals, but Kuroda was like, well, I kind of want to go back to Japan, but all right, I'll hang out here for another year, and maybe I'll put it off for, I'll go back to Japan next year. And then it was, he'd had a good year, and he'd say, oh, all right, I'll do the same thing. I'll say sign for 1 year, and maybe I'll go back to Japan next year, et cetera, et cetera. After, I think it was 3 or 4 years, he finally went back to Japan.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens with CC.
We're running out of time. We got about 4 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, the Knicks have been playing impressive basketball.
How about those Knicks?
The Knicks do not miss Carmelo Anthony.
Miss him. I'm glad he's gone.
This is a new team. They're playing better without Phil Jackson around either.
Oh,
it's amazing. You take those two.
This is what happens, like the Giants. This is what happens when the cloud gets lifted.
Well,
so Giants fans, there's hope for your future.
Think about that. The Knicks are 7-5 right now. They are tied for second in the Eastern Conference. Boston's 12-2. Wow,
Boston's good. They got a lot of pieces.
The Nets are 5-8, but they're not doing. They don't seem to be playing well.
5-8 for the Nets.
That's pretty
great.
good. I
that's
know,
great.
But they don't seem to be doing anything that's standing.
They're not going to do anything.
I know that, but I'm just saying.
Don't put that expectation on the Nets. If the Nets win 30 games this year, they'll be thrilled. The whole key to the Nets season is not to finish high enough so that the Celtics get the number one draft pick again. Although now Cleveland owns that pick.
Yeah.
So either way, the rich are going to get richer.
Yeah. Well.
But the whole purpose for that is let's not win 20 games and make sure that the Cavaliers get the number one pick.
And that's true. That's very true. Also in hockey, the Islanders, who are playing well but not as well now as they should be, they are in 5th place. They're a game ahead of the Rangers, who are in 6th. The Devils, again, in 1st place. Devils been playing good after last year not playing good. The Islanders, though, seem to be playing better. But the Rangers have to give them credit. I don't like to give them credit. they're playing a lot better than their start. Their start was very slow and struggling, and now it's much, much better. So, you know,
you forgot to mention with the Knicks, LeBron James, what he said. He threw a little controversy at the Knicks, and he said that the Knicks would have been better off drafting Dennis Smith Jr., who was a guard out of NC State, which I said actually on this show a few days after the draft. I forget what day the draft was. Whenever the show was we did after the draft, I said the Knicks should have drafted Dennis Smith Jr. So it's good to know that LeBron agrees with me.
You and LeBron, man.
Me and LeBron, we're tight.
Yeah, you're tight.
But
you go down to Miami.
While Frank Ntilikina might one day be a nice point guard. And he had a pretty good game the other day. He had 10 points and 7 assists. You know, good for him. And especially for somebody that young, that's a great game. But Dennis Smith Jr. is a year older than Ntilikina and is destroying people for Dallas. Absolutely destroying people. And he is more of a scoring point guard in the mold of Russell Westbrook or James Harden or that kind of guy. Now, I'm not saying he's ever going to be that good, but I'd much rather have a guy in that mold than a quote-unquote traditional point guard who you still don't know what he's going to be because he played European competition and didn't play very much of it before the Knicks drafted him. My contention then, as it is now, is that Phil Jackson drafted him because he thought Ntilikina would be the most agreeable to playing the triangle offense.
Right.
And then Phil Jackson got fired a week after the draft, which is one of the most boneheaded moves the Knicks organization has made.
I agree.
In probably the last 20 or so years. Is why do you allow the guy who you're planning on firing in a week to make a draft pick, and especially that high a draft pick? Why do you allow him to have so much of a say in your franchise's future when you know he's not going to be around a week later? That was idiotic.
Absolutely no sense.
No sense at all.
And the only thing I can think of is that the Knicks management, Jimmy Dolan and down, and I should say I own stock in Madison Square Garden. Maybe they didn't know in their minds that they were going to get.
They may not have.
That's what I think.
But it's still.
How do you allow someone to pick your team if you're going to let them go?
As it worked out, it was idiotic. Yeah. So. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Nathan, we got 30 seconds, brother. Anything you want to say? Big Ed's ready to go, man.
30 seconds. Well, don't forget we got the big North London Derby coming up this weekend.
Of course.
On the 18th. I think that's a Sunday, isn't it? Yeah, it's a Sunday.
Yeah,
it's
Saturday.
Saturday?
Yeah.
That would be Arsenal at Tottenham.
Okay.
So come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
North London is ours.
North London is ours. Anyway, I'm Rob Leonard. He is award-winning sports writer Tim Leonard, and yes, he is my brother. I love you, brother.
Love you too,
I'm going to
brother.
hug you later. Right after the show, I'm going to give you a big hug.
Can't wait.
Big Ed's going to take a picture of it. We'll post it on Facebook.
We're looking at the tape. We're going to review the tape.
Yeah. Thank you.
See next week.
And then we'll get a.
Thank you, Big Ed McAdoo.
Of course, the phone now is ringing. Anyway,
ringing. Stop calling.
Hang up. Anyway, thank you for listening to From the Press Box. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. We'll see you next Monday with more sports. I'll see you Friday with Beatles songs. And stay tuned to the Good Gold Show with Big Ed right here on WHBC.
Crank it up.
Crank it up.
The Nassau Mix.
The 90s, 2K, and today.
The Nassau Mix. The 90s.
All the small things.
2K. 2K. And today.
I want something just like this.
The Nassau Mix.
Listen weekdays. The voice of Nassau Community College. 90.3 WHPC.